I'll call this meeting to order. I was waiting for that thing to say 6 o'clock so we can get going. So with that, I'm David Howard, Chair MPTA, and I'm calling this meeting of the MPTA Board of Trustees to order. With that, we will go around the room and do introductions to get started. And why don't we start with you, Cameron, and work our way around.
Cameron Pruitt, trustee.
Jocelyn Jones-Nolly, trustee.
Dana Stuchenke, trustee, and thank you for the flowers.
Brad Simmons, trustee.
Alicia Stedman, trustee.
Matt Walt, trustee.
Todd Collins, trustee.
Julie Eiselt, trustee.
Katrina Young, trustee.
Peter Pappas, trustee.
T. Anthony Lindsay, trustee.
Christy Long, board secretary.
Ed Kern, trustee, treasurer.
Brent Cagle, interim CEO, CATS.
Brad Thomas, CATS general counsel.
Lucia Zapata Griffith, trustee.
Jeff Robbins, trustee.
Clayton Seeley, trustee.
Wyatt Dixon, trustee.
Bob Menzel, trustee.
Justin Harlow, trustee.
Mike Bryant, trustee. Charles Bowman, trustee.
Reverend Corinne Mack, trustee.
Kenneth Shore, trustee.
Dwayne Walker, trustee.
Rachel Bragg, CATS technology officer.
Emily Quincy, CATS staff.
All right, with that, I'm going to go through some quick housekeeping. For tonight's meeting, members of the public may access and view the meeting on CAT's YouTube channel. The agenda and meeting materials for tonight's meeting are posted on our website, ridempta.com. I would like to remind the board of rules of meeting decorum. Specifically, rule number 9 of the board rules states in order to address the board, a member must be first recognized by the chair. Therefore, please wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking. Please show courtesy and have respect for each one of your fellow board members to ensure that we actually run an efficient meeting tonight. In addition to Rule 15, Rule 15 of the board states a member who has not spoken on an issue may be recognized before someone else who's already spoken. For action items, please make sure we get a motion in a second before we just start discussion on the issue. Please turn the microphone at the table on before you speak, and make sure that you, because we're being streamed live. As we proceed, so to maintain accurate records, we ask that all trustees please identify yourself by name before speaking and making a motion. To ensure every member has an opportunity to speak, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you. Now to go over, we don't have any recognition, so moving down the agenda. Now we are at the ethics statement, number 3. I want to remind you that it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflict. To comply with the statement, I ask whether any board member has a known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with respect to any matter before this board today. Okay, so we can move on. So we are now at public comment. So just so you know, we have one person signed up. The point of the comments, remember to the public, the comments need to be directed to the full board, not an individual board member. I'm asking the board, well, I want to remind the board that we don't take action on public comment. If you do have questions, you can ask for clarifying questions or for additional information. And the proper thing to do with something, if it comes up we want to do anything with, would be referred to a committee. So tonight we have Ms. Thomas. Ms. Thomas, if you want to, Ms. Thomas, are you going to come over here or you want to make comments from where you are? Well, you can make comments from right there if you want to. Okay, you stay where you are. So we're going to start the 3-minute timer. She has a microphone. Okay, we're ready.
I would like an explanation to that sign, see something, say something. Why was that sign even created? Because I don't see nobody complaining, but there's a lot of stuff going on those buses that nobody wants to talk about. So I want to know what is the purpose of that sign. see something, say something. Yeah, I'm bold enough to come to you.
Oh, no, we appreciate you doing that. I think just to stay with the rules that I just read, I can have somebody from staff maybe come talk to you about it, because we don't normally do the back and forth doing public comment. So is that the extent of your remarks?
Well, other than the electrical things that you got on some of those buses, they're in backwards. Who wants to look at the back of the bus? And that camera, it works when it wants to work. You know, but I'm saying, why was that thing put in there backwards? Would you like to look at the back of the bus while you're riding instead of looking at where you're coming up on your stop?
Again, if that's a question, I'm going to have Ms. Coomer come talk to you about it. So is there anything else you'd like to address us about?
That's about it.
Okay, Ms. Coomer, would you take the time to talk to Ms. Thomas tonight for us, please?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Thomas. Okay, software update. Not right now. All right, we're going to move on to number 5. Public hearing on the FY 2027 budget. So, Mr. Curran, I think I'm going to turn it over to you to give us should I do the comments first or get?
No, I was just giving you that.
So I'll let you set it up, and then we have one person that wants to speak on the public hearing.
Well, as you all may recall, part of the process of approval of the budget requires, and we all would agree is appropriate, to give the public an opportunity to share with us their observations, concerns, recommendations as it relates to the budget. This is an action that occurs at the MTC as well as the city. And so this evening at this time is our formal opportunity to have that interaction with the public.
Okay, I'll remind you before we start the public hearing that anybody who wants to speak on the subject matter will be limited to 3 minutes in speaking, and we do have one person. And I'll bring her up. So Meg Fensel, if you want to come up to the microphone, you have 3 minutes to share your comments. Oh, did I officially open? I need to officially open the public hearing. So we're officially opening the public hearing on the 2027 budget.
Good evening, staff, chair, and MPTA members. My name is Meg Fensel, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Sustain Charlotte. First, we want to thank you for advancing a budget that reflects a new level of investment in public transit for Mecklenburg County. We support the FY 27 budget because it prioritizes the kind of improvements riders need now. Better bus service, expanded microtransit, investment in shelters and rider amenities, and preparation for long-term transit expansion. This budget reflects the system preparing to grow in a meaningful way, backed by the dedicated local funding that voters approved last November. We appreciate the focus on the Better Bus program. Buses are the backbone of our transit system, so investments in frequency, reliability, and customer experience are critical for expanding access to jobs, education, healthcare, and daily needs. We're encouraged to see funding for bus stop improvements, including shelters, lighting, seating, and other amenities. At the same time, we urge you to find ways to accelerate these bus stop improvements. Every day, people across the system are still standing in the rain, heat, and darkness waiting for buses. As you implement your budget, we encourage you to explore every possible strategy to accelerate shelter installation and accessibility upgrades, especially at high ridership stops and in communities where residents rely most heavily on transit. Please continue to purchase battery electric buses to support climate goals and support healthier air. We also urge you to do everything possible to fund the recommendations included in the People's Budget by the Redress Movement. These recommendations reflect the lived experience of riders with disabilities and the need for a truly equitable transit system. That includes reducing paratransit fares to match fixed route fares, ensuring full accessibility of transit apps and websites, providing same-day and on-demand paratransit options, expanding service eligibility beyond the current three-quarter mile radius, moving towards community-wide paratransit coverage, and improving reliable access to paratransit passes. And we know you've made a lot of progress on many of these accessibility issues. We also understand that you have many demands within the existing budget and encourage you to pursue as many possible other sources such as grants to make the system really work for everyone. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Meg, for coming out. Is there anybody else signed up? If you would like to provide written comments, please email catsboards at charlottenc.gov, or use, you can mail it to us as well at 600 East 4th Street, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28202, and put it to the attention of CATS. So with that, can I get a motion to actually close public
Move
hearing?
to close the public hearing.
Been moved.
Second.
All right, y'all, she put in my notes, you got to say your name before you do it. So do it again, Justin.
Justin Harlow, move to close the public hearing. Jeff Robbins, second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Congratulations. You did your first public hearing on a budget, so many more of those to come. Any discussion on the budget at all before we move on? Okay. All right. Yes, Julie.
I do have a question on the capital investment plan in the budget, the 5-year plan. There wasn't any mention of the Gateway Center in there. But yet, when you referred to the 30% design of the red line, it does refer to going to the Gateway Center. So I wondered if you could if Mr. Cagle could address that.
Yeah, the Gateway Center is currently under a P3 development agreement. And so we are continuing, the city of Charlotte, as well as, I believe, the MPTA soon will be continuing to evaluate options for moving forward on the Gateway Station. But no, it doesn't reflect that because we don't know ultimately what the dollar, what it needs to reflect. And so that is upcoming. And you are correct, the red line includes station platforms in the same area as the Gateway Station, or there with the Gateway Station. But at this point, we don't have a solid capital number to include in the budget.
So thank you for that. So in the 5-year time frame, should it move along faster, and I understand there's private developers involved, is there capacity, debt capacity to be able to start something on Gateway? Should it come up?
Yes.
Or are we locked in for the 5 years?
No. So the 5-year, so we do a 5-year CIP, but it changes every year. And so it can be modified accordingly.
There's still capacity?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move on. All right, so we're going to skip all the way down to committee reports, number 7. So I'm actually going to kick it to our treasurer first, and then Ms. Isel and Ms. Stedman for reports.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Audit Committee meeting has met a few times since our last board meeting. We are in a very active stage because we're addressing with many of the items that you all recall are part of the framework for standing up our organization, establishment of bank accounts, getting...
I apologize. The last time I failed to go around the room and have folks introduce themselves, so I won't...
Hey, Greg, can you put yourself on mute? Thank you.
There we go. I'm not going to incorporate that into my comment. Blocking and tackling of things like bank accounts and things like being a designated tax recipient, setting up trust accounts, continuing collaboration with the city in that regard and in mutual frameworks. And then digging a little bit deeper, we looked at our charter again, revised it to be consistent with feedback from all of the different committee chairs to incorporate a public comment period. A little bit later in the agenda, we will address the procurement policy, resolution authorizing participation in the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, and the financial policies. And so those have worked through our committee in multiple meetings to get them right, and we'll talk more about that when we get to that portion of the meeting. In addition, we've talked about our committee's work plans. The staff has issued a survey to communicate with us on how we should establish the work coming up for the next year. We received, as all of us have, PAVE Act updates from the transition group. We touched briefly on the advertising policy, and we're looking at that from the standpoint of more of the financial side, recognizing that other committees are likewise looking at that same policy. No action at that level or at this time. And then we spent some time on the interlocal agreement that we now have all had the opportunity to receive, along with our colleagues at the city. And all of us are working through the different committees to have the opportunity to share comments and observations. And I think we'll hear later that we're on a track where all of us have the opportunity to weigh in on this and would need to get comments in by the end of business day on Friday. If you look at the public body schedules, both ours and the city, this is something to be acted on almost within 4 weeks. It is a very comprehensive and very important agreement that addresses the period from July 1st until the end of this year as kind of one phase. Another phase that takes us into next year where we're really working on the asset transference and some of those types of material items. And then we move into a latter stage, which is really a longer stage of some of the more challenging assets to get conveyed and working through debt issuances that have maturities that are in out years. So it's a really important document. It memorializes the ongoing and continuing outstanding relationship that we have with the city. But it's an important read and is very comprehensive. And some of the issues that I know both us and our colleagues at the city are focused on are topics like governance, reserves, the assets themselves, and debts and liabilities, some of which are explicitly enumerated in the PAVE Act. And we will continue to have a more rapid pace than perhaps other committees because so much of it is financially related that our committee is trying to address those and be very responsive. Happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Well, I'll add one thing. Since we met, and you've seen it in the weekly meeting updates, we have added committee meetings to accommodate some of these decisions we have to make. I thank you guys for understanding that and being patient with it. Somebody asked me today, are we having an issue with having quorums? I said, nope, everybody shows up. So thank you guys for showing up for committees and board because it's going to take that to get through the next 6 weeks or so of what we got to get done. So, yeah, any questions about what Ned said before I give it to Julie? We're going to get out of here early tonight. Go on, Julie.
You jinx us.
Okay, then we won't. Okay, Julie. Yeah, let's give Julie the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've had 2 committee meetings since our last monthly board meeting, and I'll try to get through these briefly. In our April 22nd committee meeting, we talked about the need to make sure that we are aligned with our bylaws with regards to absorbing PTAC. We talked about that the committee could review it over the course of the year after we've absorbed PTAC, which would happen on July 1. With regards to transit rules and regulations, we talked about any updates that would be needed. Ken Shore talked about excluding people through the fare system and what a concern that is, and I think that a lot of people share that concern and how we need to address that. We also talked about advertising. I don't think we came up with anything conclusive with regards to whether or not it is it's worth it, but we'll be bringing back updated language for advertising. We had the presentation on the Better Bus program, which I think we already covered in our last meeting, so I won't go through that again. Let's see. That was probably the highlights in that meeting that we have that haven't been covered with other meetings as well. With regards to, we had a meeting this afternoon, so I would have liked to have gone home and put it all together again, but I'm going to give you the highlights of it because there was a lot of information. I won't, what Ned presented with regards to the interlocal agreement was the same conversation that we all had. We had, different comments that came up. In particular, David Longo wants to make sure that any language that we have in the interlocal agreement does matches what is expected in the language from the General Assembly in the PAVE Act. So we talked about the importance of that. That will continue to be evaluated to make sure that that's the case. Let's see, what else? RBH gave us an update on just the issues in particular for the Operations and Safety Committee with regards to the interlocal, with talking about a smooth transition of the employees, and that's going to be something somewhat of a challenge because we absorb we take on the operations of CATS July 1, but we don't have the employees until January 1, so we have to be very careful that there is a smooth transition that isn't disruptive to the employees and to passengers as well. The same goes for contract assignments that would go to MPTA during that time period. And we talked about the need to be able to pay attention to the grants that are used for operations, and again, to make sure that, in particular, any grants that result in assets that are encumbered, that we have a look at that to make sure we know what those are. And to that end, we talked about a schedule, getting a schedule of the assets, the ones that are encumbered, and by what property tax, sales tax, and make sure that we have a good schedule of all of that. Christie talked about brought up the need to make sure that, hang on, Christie, I'm going to have my language here. Again, we just did this a couple hours ago, so I apologize that I don't have my notes more organized. But we need to document clear operating procedures and duties and processes with regards to the transfer of those contracts, transfer of grants, and all of the various obligations and the operating policies within CATS. And then Ned already touched on the fact that we really have to have a date by which we get a list of those obligations and milestones for grants, assets, inventory of all contracts. And we really need to do that really within the next few days, essentially. I think that was it, unless my committee members have anything that I didn't include in there that wasn't included in the points that Ned talked about as well. But that was pretty much what we discussed.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stebbins?
Thank you. We met today, the Planning and Capital Project Delivery Committee. We met today at 3 o'clock. And so I too didn't have time to prepare my notes, but I'll do the best that I can. We had 3 action items. We had a revision to our committee calendar to make sure that we include an extra meeting to meet our payback requirements. And then the other 2 action items for recommendations to the executive committee were our committee charter, as well as the Silver Line PAVE Act study. So those things unanimously passed for a recommendation for consideration to the executive committee. We had 5 discussion or presentation items. So our agenda packet was 160 pages. So I want to thank my committee for actually being on time and actually reading everything. So we were very prepared for today's discussion. I just want to shout out to them for making sure that we use our time wisely. So our presentations were around our Title VI programming, understanding what our requirements will be as a committee or organization around meeting the Civil Rights Act requirements, FY27 service equity analysis. That's really walking through how we decide to make changes and that we're doing them in an equitable way. 2 policies that are now MTC policies that will become our policies around the travel markets. That's how we serve our community, primary and secondary markets, and all the characteristics in making those determinations. Our transit service guidelines, that's how we build our infrastructure or facilities and all the considerations to do that. And then we also talked about the interlocal agreement and had a little bit of discussion around it, and we'll have our comments in by Friday as well. And then we talked about our committee work plan. We started working on it in March. We asked for input from the committee, so we have a cadence of all the things that we would like to talk about, as well as all the things we are required to talk about until January 1st. So we have our work plan ready, and all of these things that were for discussion today, we should be ready to move on in our next meeting. And that concludes my report.
Any questions of Ms. Stedman? All right, we'll keep going. So just some quick notes on the executive committee. A lot of it is what you just heard, because a lot of the things that come through committees come to executive committee for referral to this body. So I won't repeat any of those things that you heard from everybody. I will tell you that over the last few meetings, we spent some time talking about the primary interlocal agreement and the process of bringing it forward, including kind of when it would go to committees and how it would go so we could get it done. We talked about through the transition work, we have presentations from EY now and the transition directors every time we meet, kind of giving us an update on where things are. I think mostly we'll see some of the scheduling tonight, I believe, from EY, so you can see the work that they've been doing. And we had a conversation about the HR plan that's required by the payback and what we're doing to kind of get ready for it. But most of it is actually just stuff on the way here. So most of you've heard it through the committees. So any questions for me about the executive committee? Man, I'm loving y'all tonight. All right, let's keep going. All right, next up is consent items. Anybody want to pull either one of the items? The consent items are the board summary minutes from the two of our meetings. If not, can I do consent now or should I keep going? So a motion to approve the consent items.
Justin Harlow, move to approve the consent agenda.
I need a second.
Menzel, second.
It's been properly moved in second that we move forward with the consent items. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries. All right, to presentations. So I don't know how many of you guys know what CARPO is. It is not a car. It's a very important part of what we do. It's not NASCAR either. It's a fast car. No, it's not that either, actually. But we're going to get a quick presentation because as of July 1st, we actually become a member of it, I guess is the way to best say that. So I think, Brad, you are doing the presentation about it so that we, the point here is that we're going to have to vote on this next month. So the path for this is here tonight, so you have general information about it. It'll come to executive committee for a referral back so that we can actually vote on it next month. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brad.
Okay, thank you. All right, yes, and so this will come back as an action item. So this is just a really brief, just basically background on CARPO. And so we will go through the slides here. So CARPO is a metropolitan planning organization, or what we call an MPO, required under federal law for urbanized areas with populations over 50,000. The purpose of CARPO is really to lead the planning for regional transportation and policy across the planning area. And that planning area is in Iredell, Mecklenburg, and Union counties. CARPO has a governing board, and it's comprised of elected officials from the counties and municipalities and towns in the planning area, along with representatives from NCDOT and the MTC. In terms of transit agencies, in 2014, federal law required MPOs to add local transit agencies. And so that's the reason that the MTC came on, and they've been a part of CARPO for over a decade. CARPO is established by a memorandum of understanding, the term that the planning organization uses, and that is among the member jurisdictions. A couple noteworthy things, too, also about how they're governed. They have weighted voting, and so CARPO uses weighted voting. Each member's weight is basically roughly attributable to the population. And so that is what accounts for the differences in the votes, as you see on the chart on the right. That's also agreed upon between the members. CARPO also has bylaws, and they've adopted bylaws similar to the ones that this board has. And let's turn to the PAVE Act requirements and kind of why we're talking about this. The PAVE Act requires the MTC to be dissolved as of July 1st. So CARPO has been working on a plan to add the MPTA to replace the MTC. So in the packet, there were two memos that summarized the proposed changes to this. They were changes to the bylaws and changes to the MOU that would reflect replacing the MTC with the MPTA. So each member will need to vote to approve the MOU, and then the board will also vote to approve the bylaw changes. And it's my understanding that this is coming before CARPO in May for information, and likely that after that it will come for action. And so the MPTA would need to vote to approve the MOU and appoint a representative to CARPO. So that is it.
Any questions about any of this thing?
So quick question. I assume that they have a TCC, a technical coordinating committee as well, CARPO does.
ECC.
Yeah, and so I assume that someone on CAT staff will still be attending that as well? Okay.
You open, yes, Ms. Mack.
I want to ensure that CARPO's bylaws and ethics policies are in line with MPTA's policies. I heard you say they're similar, but I like to know that there's no conflicts in the two.
We can, Brad, if you will.
Yeah, we can distribute their bylaws and
Bylaws
their
and
documents.
that's correct.
That it? Okay, Peter.
Peter Pappas, could you explain just the relationship between these two groups and how we interface with them on an ongoing basis?
I'm going to let Brad try that one. If not, I know Deborah, you can jump in if you need to.
Sure. I mean, in terms of transportation projects, the MPTA will be a member of CARPO and will be able to relay the projects that are slated for development, and will be the interface for the planning in the region.
One thing I will add, so as we think about this, so CATS definitely participates in the technical committee, but all of the projects in the transit system plan, for those projects to be eligible for federal dollars, they must be part of and approved by, they must be part of CARPO's Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or MTP. So, and that process is underway today. They're updating their MTP. And so that is another place where our transit system plan ultimately needs to be included in the regional plan and approved.
And I believe also some funding passes through CARPO, doesn't it, Brent? Some elements of the transit system and our operations?
Yes, there are grants available.
Talking about the grants.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the NPO member for city council the majority of my time on there. And Peter, yeah, the money for the feds comes through that. So, I mean, that's basically why all those members are a part of it. They have to normally make sure it's a part of their plan.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
T. Anthony, I just had a couple of questions on the actual resolutions. There are some places in here where it looks like the MPTA is replacing MTC, and there are other places where MTC is still included along with MPTA. And I just wanted to make sure that that's intentional and wasn't an oversight. I don't know whether there are legal reasons for it to still be in there that way or not.
Yeah, I saw that too. Are you speaking in regards to the memos that were submitted in the packet? Yes. And so that is, it's my understanding that the board will remove the MTC and replace it with MPTA. And so I had that conversation recently with their council.
It's just cleanup, Anthony. I think I saw it in one place where they didn't take it out. It's two? I know I saw it one, where they didn't cross it out appropriately, yeah. All right, no issue, no vote on this one. This is just information, so if there are no other questions, we're gonna keep moving. All right, so that'll be back before you next month. So we're moving all the way to 10. So now we're at action items, and we have at least two policies, I think, that need to be, three policies need to be discussed. So I think I'm turning it over to you, Ned, for all three of them.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So in your board book at 10, the tabs 10A, 10B, and 10C, you'll see the three items for action this evening: financial policy, procurement policy, and a resolution authorizing participation in the North Carolina Capital Management Trust. The first two are required under the PAVE Act. They're part of establishing that we have rigid and formal financial policies and procurement policies in place. And the third one is necessary for part of the money that is received from the North Carolina Department of Revenue. It's a common funding source and receptacle for receipt of funds. I think the county uses this, the city uses this, multiple municipalities across the state use it, and this will help facilitate some of the money moves that we'll have with the city over the next several months. So we've taken these up at the Finance and Audit Committee meeting several times. They've been moved to the Executive Committee. All of them passed with unanimous endorsement at our committee level. And so I will, one at a time. So I'll start with the financial policy, and I'll offer a motion that the board adopt the financial policy as reflected in our pre-read materials.
Somebody from the committee want to give me a second? Has been, Mr. Bryant gave me the second. Any questions on the motion on this first policy?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Three questions. Page, I guess in our document, it's actually page 111. Item 3.0 on the allocation of funds. I had a question with respect to what is the timing of allocation into the various funds relative to how the tax revenue is received.
You want to know when we're going to get the money?
I want to know how the money is
Allocated
going to
into
be
the different
distributed
reserves.
into these various accounts when the money comes in. So that's one question. Since I only have 3 minutes.
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
get all
Keep going.
my questions out, and then you can respond.
Yes, sir.
On page 117 in our package, on item number 5.6B, my question is, there's a reference here to a formula that's used, and there's a term, annual service delivery cost. And I would like to know where the definition is for that. How has that number arrived? And then on page 119 of our package, item 6.3, that deals with the outside Mecklenburg County services. The subsidy contribution from our, appears to be from our funds to provide services outside of Mecklenburg County, up to 50%. Subsidy seems to be based on the impact on road use. And my question is, how relevant is this since we now support roads with 40% of the revenue share coming from the tax revenues that are being received, and whether or not that's been discussed, or whether or not that is in fact a germane question. So those are my three questions on this particular policy.
So Brent, I'm going to give it to you and bring in Chad when you need to bring him in.
All right, well, then I will start in reverse and say that 6.3, reimbursement for delivery service outside Mecklenburg County. Yes, it is recognizing, so there are 3 routes that are cost-sharing routes. They're all express routes, and it is recognizing the connection between those outside of Mecklenburg County communities and the folks who live there coming to work in downtown Charlotte, in Uptown. And so that's what it's talking about when it's talking about reduction of vehicular traffic. Those are folks that, without those express routes, would be using other means, possibly their own single-passenger vehicle. And so, again, that is the longstanding policy of the MTC and CATS, but it is recognizing that those are basically commuter routes, express routes, serving some of the outlying suburban areas.
His question is that going to change because of the 40%?
Or should it change? Not is it, but should it? It's our decision.
I'll just offer, and I'll look to Mike and perhaps as members of the manager group that helped formulate, and the mayors, there was never a correlation between the road portion of the payback proceeds and how they might benefit or detriment to the transit side. It's a good question.
I think we're going to have some conversation about the overlap between the needs of transit in connection with roads and how the 40% dollars can also benefit transit. So how it works kind of both ways. So hopefully we'll have some coordinating conversations.
Daily, I would say, those conversations.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, then the next one was.
Page 117.
17.
Yes, 5.6B. Mr. Howell, is there an official definition of annual service delivery cost, or is that the cost of providing service delivery? Can you provide more insight?
What's intended here is, then there's not a definition in this section, we can certainly add one, but this is intended to be the cost per mode of providing the cost of that service, once you factor in all of the costs, fully allocated costs associated with that. So in other words, when we look at rail, if you look at rail and you take all of the costs that are programmed into the budget plus all of any overhead that's associated with that and divide that by the number of revenue hours, or lane miles is another one, that it runs within a year or follows within a year, that would be the cost per each of those for it to operate that mode. And that's what's intended here. And its data is, its statistics data are 3.6%. That's from the U.S. Labor or U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And so, but that's what's intended by that phrase.
So I think that to your specific question, it is not considered a defined term. It is a calculation of all of the costs associated with each mode, including direct and indirect costs reflected in the budget.
That's the definition I'm looking for.
Okay.
So I would recommend that we consider making that clear so anybody who reads this can perform the same calculation Chad's able to perform because he knows what the components of the calculation are, which was the challenge I had when I looked at this, is I had no idea what components were included. So I think it should be something that we can easily, that any person should be able to easily define. So just a comment.
Sir.
And then the last one was about allocation to accounts.
Yep.
And I will definitely turn that one over to Mr. Howell.
Right, so this is the flow of funds, and right, so this would be, and actually this is going to tie into item 10C in a minute. So once the funds come to the MPTA, so once they come into the account structure that we'll have set up, and even though they're 3 months in arrears, once they start coming in, they come in monthly. As they come in monthly, this flow of funds would be distributed through each of those accounts monthly via this flow of funds, which would be to the tax consolidation account, then to debt service fund, revenue reserve, which is defined as basically that's our savings account, and then to operating and to the capital funds. And so those distributions could be done or would be done monthly.
Thank you.
But this is after the sales tax has already come in to us. This is kind of the operational flow of funds.
Any other questions?
That's it. That's all I have.
Yes, Mr. Pappas.
Yeah, Peter Pappas. Could you explain on page 101 the capital program changes, the top bullet of aligns capital planning with long-range transit system plan. How does that practically work?
Do that for me. Where on this page? 110, where?
It's on page 101.
101. Or 110.
What that's referring to is the long-range transit system plan are the Better Bus and the rail projects. And so it is accounting for those projects in the capital program.
It's accounting, or is it allocating capital to those programs?
Sorry, it is allocating dollars to those programs. Specifically, in this budget, there is a focus on Better Bus, the Red Line, and the Silver Line.
So how does that process work in terms of who allocates it?
Who spends it?
Who allocates it? Who recommends how it's allocated to those different programs? Does that come from the staff?
Staff recommend it via the budget.
And do we see that somewhere in the process?
You have seen the budget presentation, and tonight we had the public hearing, and there will ultimately be a vote of this body on the budget. So yes.
The next meeting.
Yeah, at the next meeting.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion on the table. All in favor of the motion of the supporting this policy, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries. Now on the, well, you already explained what B was. It's a procurement policy. So you want to make a motion on that one?
Sure. Again, the committee looked at this policy on, I think, out of 3 meetings on this policy, with the last being establishing levels of authority for staff and approvals and for this board. We had great input from the transition team co-leaders in relevant market information from other transit systems and what the appropriate levels would be, and all got comfortable with those levels. Candidly, we may find ourselves inundated with approvals at this as we go along, and if so, we as a board can consider elevating these levels. But we thought we would start on the lower side to get a feel for the nature of the contracts and levels and materiality involved in those. I also would say that we're going to be taking up small business focus, so that is not addressed in any great degree here. But when we think about procurement, I know all of us think about what this can mean within this community for investments in the community and investments in people in the community. And a lot of work was done in anticipation of the passage of this law and the funding that would come for both transit and roads. And when we think about the magnitude of the dollars, $20 to $30 billion, when you think about the roads and us, over 30 years, there's a lot of economic mobility opportunities, disadvantaged businesses, and those types of things. And so we're working very hard. And Todd, if you don't mind, you just offered some great input, but you also serve on the CELC. They've been very essential in working with the education community in terms of how we build our own workforce here so that they can benefit locally in Mecklenburg County over the next 30 years. And if you want to just offer any input on that or insights.
I get it first and a second. Did I get a second?
Well,
Did I get a second?
Christie, will you second my motion?
I'll second. Brad Simmons.
Thank you.
Now discussion. Yes, Todd.
Chad, Kelly, and I had a chance to have a detailed conversation about the opportunities for small businesses, local businesses, and really businesses within the state to participate in the efforts that will be coming. Right now, I think as trustees, we're all being asked by community members, how can they participate in these efforts? And we have not been able to give them direct answers. Part of that is because the scope of work that will come out, so in the next 24 months, it hasn't been fully defined. And I was encouraged during the conversation with Chad and Kelly, when we stand up the MPTA website, there will be a business opportunities page. And there'll also be the opportunity for businesses to submit their firms for candidates for work within the MPTA. And as trustees, we'll all have the opportunity to see those businesses as well as the various efforts that are being solicited. And I guess there's two, I have a few hopes. One is that this is a transparent process that allows businesses that may not have done work within federal or city or state agencies to actually participate in this process in a fair and reasonable manner and in a substantive manner. And the other is sort of just as citizens of Charlotte, one of our goals, and I've had this conversation with Christy, I'm glad Christy and others view this. Charlotte has long been viewed as a banking city, and I think we're moving in the direction of being a healthcare city, and I think we have the capability to be viewed as a leader in the area of transportation as well. And at the end of this effort, if that's not the case, then I think that we've done something wrong. So that's part of my hope, is that we, through our efforts, incent businesses locally to work on this project.
Great job. Thank you, Todd.
Ms. Mack?
Thank you for raising that, Todd. My only question is on page 149, where it says after MPTA, this is authority level policy applicable to both MTA and CATS. I just want to get an understanding as to the time period in which CATS fully rolls into the MPTA. What is that time period?
So I don't know what part of it, but the staff part of it, which we've talked about, is January the 1st. So, but there, and that would be everything that comes with it, which would be the procurement and everything else. So now if you get into equipment and all that stuff, that could be land, that could be years, but the actual operations of gas, January 1st.
Okay.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? I'm sorry, Chris, anybody else? Yes, Mr. Yes.
No, I didn't have a question. So, again, T. Anthony, I had a specific question on, I guess it's page 160. There is a table that outlines the approval authority by level, and there are references there to chief officer, and then there's an asterisk that states what I believe to be the titles of the positions that are considered to be chief officers. And there are a couple that I don't recognize in our current structure. And so I'm trying to get a translation for what do those positions translate to in our current structure. And I wasn't sure what our chief development officer, our chief operating officer, and our chief legal officer translate to under the current structure, and whether or not that's the intended translation under this proposed policy.
Yes, so your chief financial officer is Mr. Howell. Your chief administrative officer is Ms. Prezzuti. Your chief development officer is Ms. Goforth. Your chief operating officer is Ms. Johnson. She is not here this evening. She is enjoying a much-deserved vacation right now, so she apologizes.
Okay.
Your chief safety and security officer is Mr. Osnes. And your chief legal officer, we don't know if that should read chief legal officer or general counsel, but it may need to be modified depending on the naming convention that this body chose.
When we approve our human resource plan.
And the model that we choose.
When we approve what now? Our human resources plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Our human resources plan. Thank you.
Yes.
It's effectively the executive team of CATS delegated to the executives below the chief executive officer are the people that it's referring to, or the positions.
Okay.
And all of them exist today, with the exception of chief legal officer or whatever the naming convention is that is chosen.
You're good.
That's what I
Mr.
needed.
Gibbs.
Thank you.
You're good, man. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, I do have a few things I wanted to add. Todd and I have, and a number of us have had this conversation for a while. And when we get to that conversation about small business, I want to join in just on the record with Ned, saying that I would hope that what we're doing is thinking about local hiring policies and local presence policies as well. A lot of people, the report that the city just had come out, which we'll get somebody to brief us on at some point, is saying that there's not enough capacity in the city to do most of the work that we got to get done over the next 30 years. And as we start to do that, just to echo what you said, Todd, about transportation being a new industry, if all of this $30 billion winds up going to people in other cities and we have left trains and buildings, we did something wrong completely. Because if we're not growing industry here and jobs here and new companies here out of this money, creating a new ecosystem called transportation. I had a chance to sit on a panel with Ned at the Alliance not too long ago. And I kind of said this, if a company said they were going to invest $1 billion in Charlotte, CPCC would change their programs, UNCC would change their programs, everybody would change their programs because it's $1 billion. Well, what should we be doing with $30 billion? That's even more so why there should be some buildings downtown with some transportation names on it at the end of this. If we don't do that, then we wasted our time. So I know that's not what we get to concentrate on for the next year, but just know there are people like me thinking about it all the time. Part of my legacy here, I would hope, is that we actually set up a foundation for a new ecosystem that involves CMS, CPCC, UNC Charlotte, and if necessary, A&T University, Winthrop, in the region, because it's going to take that level of participation to pull off what we have in front of us. So Chrissy's heard me go on my soapbox on this a couple times. You guys have not yet because I'm trying to keep us focused. But you just know that your chair, that is one of my big ones. If we don't pull that off, then we wasted our time. If really $30 billion goes to other cities, and we got a great new fancy train system, and that's all we got to show for it, we did something wrong. So I agree with you 100%, Todd. And again, I've just been picking my time to bring that up, but since you opened the door, that's one of my big ones. So
The easy way we say it is it's not just about moving people around, it's about moving them up.
that's right. I mean, it's this mobility conversation we're having, if this is not a part of it, we wasted our time here. All right.
Peter?
I got a motion. Oh, yes, Peter.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, this may be a question for you or Mr. Cagle, but can these larger contracts be broken down in smaller contracts to make them more, obtainable for these smaller firms? It seems like so many of these contracts are so big, we start from, the smaller firms start from a disadvantage. Is there an initiative or some efforts in that regard?
I'm sorry. I got on my soapbox and I forgot to say that was my first note. Let's remember that CATS actually already has a program in place, so we're not starting from scratch. We will be looking at the program to figure out how we can do better, but I want us to get credit for the fact that we are spending some of the money we've already spent on transition with local firms. Maybe not the smaller firms we need to, but yes, I think as we start to talk through local hiring, local presence, we'll get to those kind of conversations.
That'd be great, because we really need to think about that. It starts there, and if it's already past their capacity, they just don't have an opportunity to participate.
I just want to make sure we give credit to the fact that CATS has an existing program.
No,
We
that's
just need
great.
to work on it.
That's
So,
great.
Ms. Mack?
Go ahead.
Thank you for raising those concerns. I just want to remind you that there are, based on what Todd Collins just said, there are small firms or smaller firms that have not been part of this discussion at all. And it may behoove us to begin to look at having additional community engagements and ensuring that we have a better PR or marketing around these issues to ensure that those who may feel left out are no longer left out, but they're part of the process and part of the conversation.
There's a comms plan, outreach engagement plan working through staff right now and the co-directors, so it's coming.
That includes the broader partnerships.
It definitely talks about it.
The other thing to remember on this, because CATS, myself, agree with everything that's been said tonight related to supporting small business and growing small business. The other thing to point out is, as we go through transition and July 1st and January 1st and all of these milestones come, This is also where partnerships with the city of Charlotte, with Mecklenburg County, with others will continue on because we're all working together and we need to be coordinated, including CMS and many, many others. And so those conversations are being had at the county, at the city, at CMS, within CATS. And so this is also part of a larger collaboration, private sector, public sector, nonprofits, to create something more than just a rail line.
I'm glad you said that. I am going to get a few things off my chest with that one too. And that's the fact that this is not going to be just MPTA. If we're going to do what Todd just talked about with transportation, that's going to be the airport, that's going to be roads. Because if you can pour concrete for us, you can pour it for the airport, you can pour it for everybody. So some of this is a broader conversation about transportation that I'm talking about. It won't be just MPTA because our projects are going to be spread out all over the place and there won't be enough to keep people busy all the time. Only way you sustain that is actually having people have multiple places they can go get business. So that will be part of it. My intent is to pull the airport, Scout Motors, all these people with transportation to the table to talk about how we do this together. Who else did I have? Yes, Mr.
So I'm going to be sensitive for a moment. Whenever we start talking about institutions of higher learning in the city, and we don't talk about Johnson C. Smith University,
I did not mean to
you're
leave
going to hear from me.
I am so sorry. Everybody that's watching this online, I meant to say Johnson C. Smith too. That was a mistake. I am so sorry.
Clean up.
Yeah, thank you. Lucia?
So as we talk about partnerships, I think there is a lot of expectation in the community. At the Charlotte Alliance, we're talking with the small business committees about including as many as we can in the region to learn about what we're doing. We also have to be realistic and create the right expectations so people prepare themselves and are able, to Peter's point, to actually do the work, not just to learn about it, but to be able to participate in a real way. In our committee today, we talked about the goals of our charter for our committee, and we discussed since last times too that we need to be very clear and purposeful to have a small business as part of the project. Without all the letters, all classifications, MBA, WBE, whatever, we're saying just if somebody is involved in a disadvantage or a small business, they have a chance to come and simplify the process, because the process used to be very cumbersome to qualify as a company that can bid in a project. So, but there are a lot of groups out there that are doing this, trying, to Todd's point, the CLC, the Small Business Alliance, the Regional Alliance, et cetera. They're very, very interested in what we're doing.
Jeff?
First of all, I want to thank the staff for putting together this week's packets. I think between our committee and this board, we looked at 300-plus pages, so I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize staff. The one thing that I kind of want to lift up in the room is the environmental component. A few weeks ago, there was a discussion at a city council meeting around the MPTA's perspective on CAP and energy efficiency. And I know in the financial packet that we received, I scoured it looking for details around bus procurement, and I'm looking at the procurement policy update, and I'm looking for the granular level of information where we talk about at what point do we transition to an all-EV bus fleet. I think the other component of it is, as we think about the environmental aspects of what transportation means in the city, I'm curious if there's a space for us to bring this into either one of the committees or the structure of what we're talking about that really gets at the root of what are our goals around environmental emissions and things of that nature. So I just want to bring that to the room.
You know, we keep talking about things that I'm saying we should put in a parking lot so we can get to it. That's one that I think would go to Operations Committee. And I don't know what your work plan looks like right now, but that sounds like one that's worthy of a conversation at some point, so.
If I could add to that, I mean, we had a plan before, and Mr. Cagle can elaborate on that, but in terms of our transition from, all gas buses to hybrids or electric. I mean, there's a huge price difference. So I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff, because I wonder about that too. Do we still have that plan for conversion, hybrid versus all electric, and also smaller buses for some of the routes that don't have the big ridership, the opportunity to buy smaller buses, saves money and also more efficient,
I'm gonna
so.
pull us back because
I get it,
we're off
parking lot,
subject. So, I mean, if you did, all I wanted to say is that may be a good one for,
Yeah.
because it's not, we're talking about procurement policy. So I want to finish procurement policy. I don't even know how we got there, but we did, so I'm gonna stop us. So,
Well,
yeah.
it is important, though, to
Well, I'm just
put
want
it
to
on the
create
record to
a
come back
parking
to
lot
it.
staff somewhere with that issue, so it's queued up for that committee. And Ms. Mack, and then let's get a vote on this policy.
Yeah, Reverend Corinne Mack. I want to go back to the earlier conversation around opportunities. In my mind, I think we should go beyond the scope of where we've been, even as it pertains to bringing in small businesses, but started to look at maybe a Dream Makers program that would be an apprenticeship program coming directly out of high schools and colleges, HBCUs and other colleges, to prepare young people not only in career abilities and opportunities, but also teaching them from the ground up about transportation, as well as how to begin a business, start a business, and the foundation of creating a business. I think that's something that we could do as a body in partnership with CATS.
So noted, and that should be, you guys' committee is taking that up, so just make sure it comes back to us some kind of way. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All the same sign, that motion carries. And then the last one, Mr. Curran, you kind of talked about it. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think this will garner nearly the excitement as the prior. This is a motion. We have to establish bank accounts with only eligible institutions. That's pursuant to law. And we've chosen, as I said before, the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, and they require us to pass a resolution in support of opening that account. And that is the nature of the resolution that is in our pre-read materials.
You're going to get us a bank account. All in favor of the resolution? I need a motion.
Motion.
So moved. I'll make the motion.
Seconded by over here, Lucia, this time. So any questions on the motion, discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I just had one quick question on page 169, that is the staff representation of the resolution. It talks about authorizing them to invest idle public funds in the account. I didn't see that specific language in the resolution, but I'm curious, is that what we intend? Is it only idle funds, or is it all funds, at least doing transition? And if it's not all funds, then where will the other funds be placed?
So idle funds, so the other funds will be used to continue operating transit, right? So as the funds come in, there's still bills to pay, and then whatever is not being utilized would be invested.
So my question is, where are those funds held that would not be invested in this trust fund? That's the question.
In the city's CATS accounts until they are dispersed via payroll and invoice payments and all of those kinds of things. So they would be held in city accounts, in the CATS accounts, which are segregated. They are part of the city's accounting system, but they are segregated from other accounts because we are an enterprise fund of the city.
So are those accounts titled to CATS, or are they titled to the city?
They are City of Charlotte accounts because we are a department of the City of Charlotte, but they are segregated from general fund accounts or other general accounts.
So do we need to take any action to retitle those accounts? What I'm trying to get to.
Part of the interlocal agreement.
Yeah, so I just need to make sure that we've covered that, if in fact we do need to do that.
No, I do not believe so at this time. It is part of the interlocal agreement, and then it will be a task of the transition to create those accounts in the MPTA's name.
I got Jocelyn. Oh.
So from a budgeting perspective, if these are idle funds, what can they be used for? It's not part of a budget.
Any lawful transit purpose.
So without any, it's discretionary without any approval necessary.
They can't be used by, so they can, only funds that are appropriated can be spent. Idle funds cannot just be spent without first being appropriated. If that, I think I said, does that make sense?
I think,
Okay.
and to say appropriated means that it's.
Budgeted.
Oh, thank you, okay.
Jocelyn?
Hi, assuming that these accounts draw interest,
Is your microphone on?
yes, yes, it is. Is that a safe assumption that this account will draw interest?
Yes.
What happens to the interest? Do we continue to develop it into transit-related activities?
Yes.
Okay.
All interest earnings or earnings on the accounts retained with CATS and for transit use.
Thank you.
We reviewed the nature of the investments to maximize the overnight rates.
Reverend Matt?
Bullet number 2, that talks about the authority of the financial officer to open and maintain the accounts, deposit idle funds, and execute all documents or certifications required. I also wanted to find out who are all the authorized signatories on these accounts. Is it solely the financial officer, or is it the chair and financial officer, or is it all three of you, the secretary, chair, and financial
You
officer?
want that, or you want me to give it to Chad?
I'm going to give that one to Chad.
Chad?
Yes, it is the MPTA's finance officer, which is in the, Treasurer Curran is in the process of being appointed, or making through all the statutory steps to be the finance officer. And then it is best practice that there be a second person who can sign for the finance officer were they to not be able to sign. And we have suggested that that be the chairman of the board of trustees of the MPTA, and that's it. It's just those two people, those two positions.
Mr. Chair, I suggest that we have 2 signatories on the account, both the treasurer or the financial officer and the chair.
Yes, he's telling us how it's been set up. Any other questions? If not, all in favor of the policy, the motion to support the resolution of the policy, it's not a policy, on opening an account, on the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same sign. That motion carries. Thank you all for doing business for MPTA. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is actually get some reports, and I'm going to turn it over to Brent for the transit report.
Yes, sir. So I'm happy to report that we have some good news. Many of our CATS operators and mechanics were recently competed in the state-level bus rodeo that was last month, including our STS division operators. We did very well in the state level, and I'd like to call out our top-tier maintenance team, Mr. Charles Jones, Brendan Hartzell, and Jeff Dahl. Also, our first-place operator, Miguel De Valle, as they represent CATS, and they are moving forward to this year's APTA International Bus Rodeo in Salt Lake City. So, that's a great question.
Are you taking the bus out there to get another bus?
So, as new members of the MPTA, you will learn all about the bus rodeo. It is conducted locally, statewide, and then at the national level. We do it once a year, and it is a way for operators to go out and show their skills. We do it over on just off of Shopton Road at the city's driver training facility. And our operators are the best of the best, and they navigate a challenge course with many different obstacles that they have to go through, and it is a scored event, and we're proud of them every year. It's a great event. Next year when it comes up, you will all be invited, and I strongly recommend you go because it is a great way to spend a Saturday.
Jeff wants to know if they have a separate category for electric buses.
They do not, but we might be able to get MPTA members to compete a little bit next year. We'll have to talk about that.
I want T. Anthony to compete.
Insurance policy in place for that.
Are there any videos?
I know you're not. What else we got?
Yes. Okay, so your monthly report, March 2026. So again, our reports are in arrears. So March 2026 summary of monthly statistics and information. On our safety summary for March, there was one reportable event in March. A stopped bus was struck by a private vehicle. One passenger reported minor injuries. In our paratransit division, there was one reportable event. An STS vehicle was struck in a parking lot by a private vehicle. One passenger reported minor injuries, and there were no reportable incidents in March in our rail division. Our on-time performance in March for bus was 86%, again, up 5% from March of 2025. Inside of that 86%, 1.8% of the trips arrived early, and 13% arrived late, for an overall 86% on-time performance. Again, 85% is our standard measure, and we are very happy to see us maintaining 85% over the last approximately 8 months now, as we have focused on that. In ridership, local bus ridership experienced a slight decline of 2.5%, March of this year compared to March of last. Local and regional express routes saw increases in ridership. Local express was up 12.3%, and regional express increased by 7.1%. The Blue Line experienced a decrease in ridership of 9.4%, and the Gold Line saw a decrease of 19% in ridership, March to March. That is the conclusion of my summary, but I am happy to answer any questions.
I'm just telling Ned, we're gonna see higher ridership while gas is going up. I may take the bus down here myself.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
One question, while we're getting ready to have that soccer, the soccer games, is that going to make any changes in our bus routes or frequency or the light rail?
So for light rail, when we see special events uptown, we normally add vehicles onto the system to accommodate the larger crowds, and so we will do that as well. For certain special events, we have had agreement with event providers to add express routes or buses. But at this time, I do not believe that we've been approached related to Charlotte FC or the special soccer events. Yeah.
We need to check on that.
Yeah, we will check on that. So Ms. Prizzuti is saying we have not been, but we do work with the Panthers to talk about special event management and traffic management. And so we're hopeful that those kinds of collaborative efforts can be extended in the future.
It'd be great to follow, thanks.
Yeah, Peter?
Mr. Cagle, those on-time performance numbers are really impressive. Congratulations, almost 100% on the Blue Line. That's really outstanding.
Thank you.
Ms. Mack?
Thank you for that report, Mr. Cagle. Do you have a process in which you can receive complaints or surveys? And if so, how quickly are you responding to those complaints or surveys? And what is the outcome?
Yeah, so we do have a customer service division, and there are both available via the app, via email, and via phone, the ability for customers to provide us feedback, positive and negative, so lodge a complaint. And we do have a standard metric. I don't know the exact response time right now. Ms. Prizzuti, do you know?
It's typically within a couple of days of our first contact. I'm trying to remember what the exact number of business days. I believe it's less than 5 for initial contact from the first from the complaint, and then there's a follow-up date as well. But we can get you that. We've been making some improvements in that area and working on response rate to customer complaints, and so we're happy to share that.
Will you put that in the weekly update this week, just so it'll give it very formally what it is, please? Thank you. Bob?
Bob Menzel. Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Cagle neglected to give us a complete report. He didn't address microtransit ridership.
I did not. I apologize. That was on page 2 of my notes, and I stopped at page 1.
The news is rather impressive.
Microtransit has seen a 318% increase March 2025 to March 2026. For the month of March 2026, we logged just under 7,000 customers for the month.
I got T. Anthony, then I have Matt, then Clayton. I'm sorry, I'm gonna follow you. So who's next? T. Anthony. Okay.
Thank you. T. Anthony Lindsay, just some help with, how do we calculate the average daily ridership number? How do we get to that number?
Yeah, so average daily ridership is calculated through APCs, or automated passenger counters, as they board the vehicle.
But it's an average over a month.
Yeah, and so it's averaged
Over a
out, but
month.
that, we're counting passengers via the APCs and then averaging it.
Okay, so, but it is an actual count of passengers as the counter states it, and then you take the totals for a given month, and like we have weekday, Saturday, and then Sunday. So you're collecting that data based on just the activity during the week for the entire month?
Yeah.
And are we using a 30-day month to figure that out?
I will have to get, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the sum of all the weekday ridership divided by the number of weekdays in a month. So
Okay.
it's not that, and that varies from month to month. So
It's pretty close, though, in terms of how many unique riders. That's really what my question is about, is the number of unique riders for a given trip. So if I look at this, we serviced about 49,000 riders per day during the weekdays in total in all of our modes of transportation.
So that is rides, not necessarily unique people, because somebody can take more than one ride during a day.
Right, but I'm saying that is not counting the person's trip. So if I take a transfer, am I counted twice?
Correct.
You are.
That's what I need to know.
Every time you board a bus, you're counted.
You are. Clayton, where are you, Clayton?
Hello. So I want to start by calling out an individual on the train the other day. I don't remember their name, but it was a gentleman that was checking tickets. And the second he walked on to the train, he made his presence known in a very jovial and efficient manner, and just asked everyone to take out their phones and show him the tickets. Every single person on there did that, did it quickly, and he was on with his job. I thought it was awesome. I wanted to ask a question after that little anecdote. You know, I ride the train. I have not personally noticed a 9.4% decrease in ridership, and I would be curious if there is a time of the day that we're seeing that ridership, because I don't see it at commute times. It seems to be just as full coming from the north end of Charlotte as it was in February and January, December, all that. So yeah, when are we experiencing that decrease predominantly? Oh, and I will also say the Hornets sold out the last 15 of their games, so I would have expected an increase in ridership, if anything.
Yeah, so so you're referring to peak, what we call peak times, and peak times are definitely very, very busy, and they continue to be busy. We do believe that it's non-peak times. The other thing I will point out, and I'm not trying to imply that the entire 9.4% decrease is attributable to what I'm about to say, but some of it is. Just like you saw someone checking fares, and they were very jovial and they checked all of the fares, enhanced fare enforcement usually leads to a decline of some sort in passengers, in the numbers of ridership. And so we do think that there is some of that. I am certainly not trying to say that it is the entirety of 9.4%, but in peak times, we are seeing significant, I don't think that those passenger loads are going down at all. In fact, I think that they are starting to be very, very high and continue to be very high.
Yeah, it can get uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's a good thing. Who's next? Matthew.
Yeah, maybe I can offer my own anecdote. I have actually been fare checked on the Blue Line as well. It was a couple of months ago. It was a positive experience. So anyway, I got to see it firsthand. So just a couple of quick ones from me as a resident of North Mac. Thrilled to see the micro ridership pickup. Just for the benefit of the group, I know we have this info at our fingertips, but when did that launch?
So it launched somewhere around March of 2025. Was that the first or second month?
It was the second month. Yeah, so we just were lapping ourselves. Okay, yeah, sure.
It was sort of the first month of the service.
Yeah, okay. Just putting it in context a little bit. That's great, and nonetheless. Second, so I know studies have shown, fare compliance, hovering around 50%. In terms of the ridership count, is that affected, or how is that affected by whether or not people are paying fares as they ride, or how do we account for that?
Fare payment, I don't believe, creates a difference in ridership count. Fare enforcement does, right? And so fare enforcement, as you have more fare enforcement throughout the system, you will tend to get a decline in ridership numbers,
But
at
if-
least temporarily.
I guess maybe my question should be, if someone enters a bus and doesn't pay the fare, are they still logged as a rider? Is that?
Correct,
Okay,
yes.
okay, got
It's
it.
an automated, if you get onto the vehicle, the APC counts.
Got it, okay,
right? It's
great.
an electronic eye.
Okay, excellent. And then the last thing is, so see the gold line here, I know we talked about the blue, about a 20% decline, and, I'm sure we have some, variability or some noise in the numbers in a given period, weather events, things like that. Don't necessarily want to put you on the spot unless you have thoughts about that decline or, a conclusion, but I think for these reports, if it's over 10% or something like that, if we just have I know it's hard to pin down exact factors, but maybe some underlying drivers or something like
Sure,
that.
and we can provide that. We'll follow up on thoughts on Blue Line and Gold Line.
Okay.
We can do that.
Great, thanks, Ron.
Dana.
Dana Stujenki. So a quick question about the microtransit with, a 318 increase. I understand it was the first month that it kicked off in 2025. Did you have to increase the amount of vehicles when you kicked off versus now for the microtransit zone? I mean, if so, do you know what that is?
Yes, we've added 2 vehicles to the zone.
How many were there total?
7 to begin, 9 now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you for the report. Let's keep moving. So transition co-directors, who's coming up?
So good evening. I'm Carolyn Flowers, one of the co-directors of the transition team. And the report tonight consists of 2 parts. The first will be a status on the transition efforts of the payback requirements, and the second will be a presentation from Greg Moser on the CEO recruitment process. The slides in your deck contains, thank you. Which way?
The one that doesn't have a direction on it, no.
The one with no arrow. Thank you. So your slide deck contains a slide that covers the payback requirements, which Deborah will cover later in this presentation. But we'd like to start tonight with a status update and accomplishments that for each of the functional teams. And before I start, first of all, I'd like to recognize that we wouldn't be where we are today without the focus and dedicated efforts of all the consultants and the vendors that are supporting the MPTA. And special thanks to the CATS team, to City of Charlotte's team, EY, RBH, and the work that they've done in this transition. So this slide and the next slide will cover the functional updates for each of the areas. And we have a weekly all-hands transition update coordinated by EY. And the lead staff for those functions are listed here in the topic column. So as a reminder, there are 3 phases or gates. In the PILA, we're calling them phases, but EY is calling them gates. So we're using those terms interchangeably. And so phase 1, as you all know, is the compliance due on July 1st. Phase 2 is from July 1 to December 31, which is focused on the operational and employee transition. And phase 3 will complete the transition activities. So beginning with the SMO, which is the management, we're talking about the process in collaboration with the city and EY. And so we're moving through the execution of many of the key operational activities to separate CATS from the city of Charlotte. And we have the PILA, which you all have now seen through the standing committees today, and it's been distributed. RBH has provided presentations to each of the standing committees. They're collecting their input from all of the trustees. We encourage you to take advantage of the office hours by this Friday so that we can keep this process moving forward to meet the July 1 deadline for approval. On the HR front, HR and the benefits are part of this seamless transition for our employees, and that is one of the highest priorities in this process. The critical path is the HR benefits, and Elizabeth has been leading this effort, researching comparable options, and a decision and recommendation should be coming in the next 2 weeks for your review. And the future org charts are being developed. Priorities will be reviewed by the transition team with the criteria ranked on positions that need to be filled through the Gate 2 Phase 2 process. And for pension, MPTA has been adopted as an official member of LGERS, and CATS Finance, and primarily led by Chad, is coordinating the surety bond requirements for funding under that accomplishment.
Just to stop a second and give everybody around the table some kudos for getting us through Eldridge. That was one of our first big hurdles we had to do. And we are now officially members of, is that right? A member of Eldridge? So that's one of the first big hurdles towards transition for HR.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you.
Thank you, staff, for sure.
Thank you, Brent and Deborah, who went to the meeting. So on the IT, as you all know, data separation is very complex, but it is on track. Work is being focused on the migration strategy, and Rachel is leading that. Thank you, Rachel. And we're trying to identify which systems and when they need to be separated from the city platforms, and determining the retention history and requirements. So IT and legal are involved in this process, and the HR systems are a high priority to allow the transition of employees, and that is one of the key objectives that you have set out here at MPTA. On the finance side, lots of activity been going on in that area. The finance area is covering the asset transition, debt, the O-line reimbursement, and the framework for addressing those requirements are nearly finalized. EY is working with CATS and the city on the asset transition, developing a list of encumbered, and encumbered meaning those assets that have been collateralized by the city for debt instruments, and the unencumbered assets which can transfer immediately in the transition. The finance policies you have just advanced and approved, as well as the budget. And so those were on the agenda tonight, so those can be checked off. And CATS has also initiated, along with EY, they've initiated meetings with the grantors, FTA, FEMA, DEQ, and also with the MPO. And so Brad gave you an update on that tonight, and we're providing a presentation on this eligibility and the process that we need to complete that. So now I'll turn it over to Deborah, who will complete our presentation.
Thank you, Carolyn. Again, my name is Deborah Campbell, and I'm a part of the transition team. And we're going to, I need to, yeah, there we go. So we have been talking a lot about the primary interlocal agreement, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but just wanted to make sure that, just another reminder that the RBH team has set up what they're calling office hours for you all to provide any types of additional comments, and you can do that individually with them, but we need to have this done by close of business on Friday. So essentially, again, that window is tonight, tomorrow, and by close of business on Friday. We definitely need you all's input. And another item related to the legal aspect is we are coordinating with legal staff from CATS and finalizing non-disclosure agreements with our third-party IT vendors. This is a really, really important step for us to ensure that as all this personal information is transferred from one entity to another, that information is protected. And under procurement, we are compiling, as you've already heard, a list of grants and contracts so that we can better understand, again, what needs to be transferred to the MPTA. The last one under development is the silver line value engineering study. It is been completed. It's on track. It was actually discussed during the committee meeting earlier today from the planning committee with regards to receiving the report, and what was made very clear, I think, during the discussion of the committee was that you're only receiving the report, that no actions or recommendations were being made as relates to the content of that report. And that is it's coming from the committee. It will be going to the executive committee very, very shortly. And so, gosh, I don't know why it's not advance friendly with me. Okay, here we go. So just very, very quickly, as you heard from the chair earlier, there are lots of things that need to get accomplished. And what we are pleased to present to you that we have gotten a bit more of an organizational framework in terms of when things are going to be advanced. This is kind of the master calendar of events by each one of the committees. With the, as you can see at the bottom, with the gate one, and that deadline of having lots of actions that should have been transpired by that deadline in order for us to meet our July 1 deadline. And you can see, again, as the chair mentioned, lots of committee meetings and decisions to be made, but we are making tremendous progress, and we want to thank you all for the time that you are giving to this process. It is making our lives much, much easier in order to advance all the work that needs to get done.
Just a quick question for everybody, because I know everybody's thinking it. If for some reason we get through stuff faster, these are placeholders. Could we possibly be canceling meetings?
Absolutely. We would love to cancel a meeting, quite frankly. And I know you all would as well.
Make us go faster so we can cancel some meetings.
A lot of that is on you all as to how quickly you can make the decisions.
Deborah, I was going to point this out, and Lucille just asked me, going back one slide, don't move, I'm just saying it. Adam just sent, while we were sitting here, an email for office hours. I mean, really, I don't know how he did it. You hit send as soon as we said it. So you have the office hours from Adam Dorr, from Robertson Bradshaw, so you can start signing up if you want to ask questions or give feedback. All right, keep going.
Ready? Okay. You got me? Thank you. And actually, you can go and even past this one. This is just redundant in terms of the information that was that I just presented. We just wanted to always remind you all of the payback requirements. They're generally 12, and these are the deadlines and the deliverables that have to be done in order for us to say that we have completed all of those things that are required of us as part of the payback. The legend is color-coded. We've completed 2 things, yay, but we're on track, and it's in green, in progress for the rest of the items. And I truly believe that the financial policies probably can go into the blue very soon after tonight. And so there are a number of other slides that are in your packet. A lot of that information is the individual committees, items that will be going to the committees, and the schedule of those things that will be going to your committee. You heard, I believe, Alicia talk about work plans. We're doing that for each one of the committees over the next several months into our phase 2 process, and hopefully toward the end of the year, we will be ready to receive the employees and for you all to be whole in terms of a fully stood up organization to operate and run transit services. And with that, I will take any questions you all may have.
Q&As?
We will take questions that you all may have.
Jocelyn?
Hi. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. As a project manager, I really enjoyed the graphical tracking. I really did. I probably will be copying that. But just a minor detail. While we're in this public space, I did notice that some of the slides had confidential on the footer. So I just want to make sure that, because it's not confidential, just for consistency's sake, if we could remove that, if we're going to show it, or if it in fact is confidential.
Absolutely.
So, minor thing. Thank you very much.
It's that project manager in her. Just so you know, just so you know, when we saw it in executive committee, Alicia and I geeked out like These are fun.
I know, I loved
The night I got them and I read every one of them, because there's a sheet for every committee, and there's a sheet for every item too, showing us the path forward. So, yeah, I agree. Next was T. Anthony.
So, first question, we get you our comments by Friday. When do we get them back?
I'm going to have to,
Turn that to RBH.
yeah, for them to respond to that one.
Let's wait. So if you do office hours, you get immediate response.
Right.
So
That doesn't address changes. I'm saying
It's-
everybody
it's
needs to
a-
see the final result.
It's going to be an iterative process, and it is likely that it will take maybe 2 to 3 days to decipher. Then you've got to negotiate with the city. So I'm thinking 2 weeks.
Yeah, Deborah, I would agree with that it's going to be a process, of course. I don't think it would be in our intention to respond to any individual trustee and say, like, this comment is good, this comment is not good, or anything like that. We will, as they explained, synthesize all of the comments and then need to come together with the executive committee or some members of it and with the co-directors and figure out what comes out of those comments for raising it to the city. So I honestly can't promise you any response time for those things, but certainly the 2 to 3 days sounds completely reasonable to me. It'll be dependent upon when we can get, time scheduled.
before that even turns into anything, though, you're welcome to come to the executive committee when we hear kind of everybody's feedback. So I don't know if we have time to bring it back to committees, but every member, as you know, is welcome to attend the executive committee and participate, as you know, Anthony, because you've done it. So I mean, I think that's the way that this will go because of the time crunch.
I just want to make sure that all of the trustees have the benefit of all comments that were made on the document, because in my view, there's still potentially decisions that have to be made even before you go back to the city. One of the challenges is that you've got decision points in this agreement that this body did not weigh in on prior to them being discussed or presented in this document. And I want to make sure that before we go back again, that the full body has had the benefit of seeing what is being taken back to the city. Now, I don't know how that works into your timeline, but that's what my concern is personally, is that I believe the full body should have the benefit of being able to weigh in on whatever we are going to send back to the city or direct our quote-unquote representatives to go back and be negotiating on our behalf with the city, that the full body's had an opportunity to weigh in on that.
Well, again, this is very, it's not a perfect process. I don't know if it'll get back before they go to the city, but if there's sticking points, and if we need to actually have a board meeting before the last board meeting, we'll do it. So, I mean, just know, I mean, if we have to do it, we just did it around the public hearing, we'll do it around this too if we have to. So let's see how it all goes. I mean, I don't want to plan for what we don't know. Let's see what comes in, and then let's deal with that, and then we'll make adjustments. We know we have to work through this before July 1st.
I'm sorry, I need to follow up.
Sure you
because
can.
I need to, if I'm the only one who cares about it coming back to us, for us to review it before it goes back to the city, then fine. But otherwise, I'll make a motion that we ensure that that happens, because I'm not going to leave that loose. I need a commitment that it's going to come back to us.
No, let's make a motion then. Let's not
Okay.
keep going. So
I'm
motion.
happy to do it.
I'll second that motion. Brad Simmons.
No, let's talk about it. So, I mean, right, we already discussed it. So
second first.
one of the things I'm gonna do is not let us go on and about stuff. So if we're gonna have a discussion, let's discuss something. So my take on that
Maybe we
is-
should put the calendar back up again?
Well, no, not yet, not yet. So let's talk through the merits of what you're talking about. So, I mean, right now, what we're trying to do is actually, there's been a lot of conversations already between the bodies because we had to get something drafted to get to this point. You don't start from scratch. You don't get everybody at the table to start from anything. We started it. So, I mean, at this point, what we're doing is actually just trying to get through just trying to get through something that we can actually check a box and say that we did. I need to make clear that this does not mean that we can't come back, we can't touch this again. I mean, there are a lot of things about this that, you know, we need to check a box, but it's not in stone if we need to change it if something's not working. So before we go adding meetings and getting into a bunch of different things, my request of you is let us get everybody's comments and see what we got. We did this with the bylaws, and we had a handful of people that even read and gave us comments. I like to see how much we got before we go through adding meetings and talking about all these different things. So now let's go around the room and give comments, and I'm gonna start on this. Well, I'll start over here with Corinne, and then I'm gonna come around this way just so we can get everybody to talk. So Corinne, you first.
So are we discussing my motion now,
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, you got a second.
So I ditto the comments that Mr. Lindsay made. We've had this conversation numerous times regarding how we build trust. And one of the main things we said was transparency. I just signed up for office hours, and part of my conversation was this very thing, that we, as trustees of this board, would have an opportunity to understand what is going on prior to getting these packets. And several meetings have happened, whether it's with the city, you know, with the General Assembly, whomever, that we're not aware of. There's some contract negotiations going on. I would love to sit into those conversations to at least bear witness to what is being said and being done, and the kinds of agreements that are being made prior to you going back to the city, because every board member here is responsible for the decisions we make. We all have fiduciary responsibilities, and I'm sure that any one of us who are, you know, who have the free time to come to those meetings would love an opportunity to at least take part and hear for ourselves what's happening. It's becoming, but it may become, it hasn't become yet, it may become a past practice and not a good one if we continue down this road where there's decisions being made and we're finding out after the fact. And that's not a good look.
Who's next?
Well, what do you want to do?
Oh, we're taking comments on the motion. We're on discussion with the motion. So who else wants to talk on the motion? Yeah, I got Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wyatt Dixon. I agree in the total transparency thing, but having served on other boards, I do think that that's part of the trust building that we talk about in terms of having faith in the committees that are doing the work ahead of time so that we're not all deciding the minute details of every single thing. And I think we've done a really good job, and kudos to our chair to, you know, set these committees up and everything. But I was one of the people that came up with a lot of comments on the bylaws and some of those legal documents. And I very much think that process worked itself out as you alluded. And so I caution us in thinking about this process because we want transparency, but at the same time, we have to be able to trust the other members on the committees and things like that to make recommendations. Then we act on those recommendations. And so I know that's a little bit off this exact point, but I just want to say that I personally, as a trustee, have a lot of faith in the executive committee to navigate this and make sure that we're going to be in a good spot. And I promise you're going to get some good feedback.
And just a reminder, your chairs from your committees are on the executive committee. They're bringing your voice back. Who else wants to be heard? Yes, Lucia.
So I think we could empower, and if, I don't know if this is an alternative motion or a replacement motion, that we empower the executive committee to discuss with our legal counsel whatever input they get on Friday or by end of Friday, and decide if we need another meeting or we just wait to receive information via email and go from there, because we may not have sustained comments to really justify another meeting.
I mean, I'll take a second on that,
made.
but I mean, I think that's the path we're on if this motion doesn't pass. So if this motion doesn't pass, it is going to the executive committee next, after we get comments.
Okay.
Going around the table? I want you to be last. Anybody else? All right, Ned.
I'm not sure what the motion is, Anthony. Could you clarify it for me? I mean, I want to take a real example. There's 3 reserves called for in the local agreement. Conversation happens with the city, it gets narrowed to 2. Conversation then comes back, goes to 3. we supposed to come back and convene 27 people to discuss that iteration? Because there's going to be lots of conversations like that. This is a very comprehensive agreement with complexities in each of the phases. And there comes a point where practicality is, if we don't delegate this to a few to try and work through, and no decision can be made until this board votes on it. So people are trying to act in good faith to advance this document in a very short time frame. But nothing happens unless this board acts on it. So.
Yeah, we're ready. So just to clarify,
Could you repeat the motion?
So my motion is that all the comments that are received from the trustees be brought back to the trustees prior to the representatives of the MPTA renegotiating the interlocal agreement with the city.
I think I'm going to just give, well, no, I won't. Well, Charles hadn't said anything.
Can I just ask, how's that going to work? Because I guess from a practical perspective, I'm not disagreeing with your concept, but the lawyers are going to listen to anybody who wants to talk to them in the next 72 hours. They can compile the comments from everybody and circulate that so we see everything that everybody said. That's different than our having to come back and hash through all those comments. We've seen the comments, and then I would think that the lawyers are going to, working with the transition team, are going to try to put as close to a final document together, and that's what we're going to vote on. I trust that process. I do trust that process. But I think it's impracticable to try to work through 27 people's comments. I mean, I don't have any further comments. I've seen the agreement. We talked about it in Finance Committee. But I understand the concept we're talking about here, but I'm trying to get the practicality of your motion, so.
Anthony, you're more than welcome to reply.
Yeah, again, I think that the body gets to decide whether or not, after all the comments are in, whether or not there's a need for an additional meeting. I'm not requesting an additional meeting, but I think that's up to the body to decide that. And the body can only make that decision after they've seen what all the comments are and how they've been incorporated into a next version of a draft that's going to go back to the city. My point is that there's no benefit in us sending something back to the city that this body doesn't fully agree with. I mean, I don't see any benefit to doing that when we're talking about trying to expedite the process. So that's the reason for my motion, and I'm happy to stand alone on that point.
Just to clarify before I go down here, is that the executive committee is a member of this body, and the executive committee is put in place to do exactly some of what you talked about. So Wyatt?
No, Wyatt first.
Well, I had Wyatt. Wyatt was before Reverend Walker. I saw his hand first.
I didn't.
But Reverend Walker has not spoke. I'm sorry, using the rule of not having been heard. Reverend Walker.
I'm calling for the previous question.
That closes debate, y'all, unless you want to take a motion. I mean.
I have a clarification.
You have to vote on it.
You have to vote on closing. Now, I'm going to say, a vote on, a motion to close the question. All in favor of closing?
There's a clarification.
There's a clarification.
I have a clarification question, and I don't know how to.
I'm going to do Robert's rules. If he calls a question, because I recognize him, we have to carry it.
That's right.
So all in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, let's keep going. One more clarification. Wyatt and Katrina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am just, if this does not pass, then what is the process? I feel like I think we're sort of circling around the same goal here, and
they put it on the screen when we saw those schedules. It comes back to the executive committee after all the comments.
Right. So if this does not pass, then it goes to the executive committee. Certainly, there's going to be transparency, and we can request that to see, the comments.
I've already encouraged everybody that wants to care to come to the meeting.
Right.
So, and to participate.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I knew exactly what the alternative was, which is our standard process.
Katrina?
A clarifying question as well. So what I understand, and tell me if I'm mistaken, is the motion is to guarantee that everyone gets to see all of the comments. It's not that there's to be a debate about it or that there's to be another motion or another meeting, but to ensure that whatever is collected is circulated to the committee, and I don't have a problem with that.
What he said in addition to that, Anthony, correct me, is that it would come back, it would come to the board for approval.
No, that's
I
not
did
what he
not say
said.
that,
That's not what I seconded.
and that's not what I said.
He's asking for the information.
Exactly.
He said then the board has to
Yeah.
decide whether it wants to convene again.
But that would be based on the information received. I would think that would be in communication, people would then comment to say, hey,
Wait a
I
minute, y'all.
agree, I have questions.
Katrina
Yeah, I
has
think
the
we
floor.
should have a meeting, but I don't think the motion is to have a meeting. That was not my understanding.
There's no other way to get approval by everybody on what we got.
It wasn't to be approved, it
Okay.
was to see.
So
That's
it's
what I
to see.
understood.
That's not what I heard.
It's to see. So clarifying, it is a report out to the board.
And I'll say this, because maybe I misunderstood, but when he asked it, I think your comment was, well, it'll go to executive committee. His comment was, well, to ensure that everyone gets to see it, I will make the motion to make sure everybody gets to see. It was not about meeting again, but just that the information wouldn't just go to the attorneys and then wherever, but we would at least get to see what, if any, concerns.
So just to clarify that, what you're saying then, Anthony, and you and Brad, is that you want to see the comments that everybody sends in.
I thought that's what I said, but.
Well, it kind of came along with, everybody needs to approve, so I'm
There was a lot of
not sure.
interpretation around what I
Got
said,
it,
but
got it,
but
got
that's
it.
what I said.
So,
And that's what I was
But
intending.
just to clarify, I just.
wait a minute, because I got, well, I'm hoping that clarifies a lot of comments. So Peter, do you still want to say anything?
That clarified.
Who else was next?
Katrina's point clarified.
Okay, then, no,
He spoke.
yes, Michael,
My next.
you are.
So I respect the concern, and however, I'm not going to vote in favor of the motion, and I'll explain why. We have an expectation, and we ask that the feedback comes forward. And I'm a little concerned if we're going to start taking formal action when it comes to trustees articulating an interest and expectation that the leadership follows through on that. So I'm concerned about a precedent. If there's a larger concern regarding trust, then that's a different conversation. But I think this board has made it clear that we want all of the feedback to come back. And I'm hopeful that that will happen without the need
It will.
of taking a vote.
If that's what you asked for, that can happen
So
without a
that's
motion.
the only reason.
For me.
Why? Now, if it doesn't happen this time, I'll be the first to make a motion the next time that there is a similar concern articulated. But I'm going to trust that you're going to follow through on what has been asked, as opposed to when we're at this point in future meetings that we feel compelled to take formal action for something that we expect leadership to deliver on. So because of that reasoning, in my view, I am not going to support the motion with the expectation that you will deliver all the feedback that has been requested, and hopefully it does not require taking formal action moving forward.
No, if that is the case, now that it's clarified, you will absolutely get all the comments. You got all the comments coming back. That's not a problem. If that's,
That's a clarification.
I thought we were talking about an additional meeting, so I'm going to fight a meeting. So if it's just for the information to come back, that is a no-brainer.
And if that's the case, I withdraw my motion.
Got it. Brad, you good? Absolutely. All right. I don't know where we were.
Go through that in order to get there.
We were going to give.
Separate
from that. Exactly.
Where were we at?
One more piece of our presentation.
Wait a minute, everybody. Let's hurry up so we can get out of here. All right.
One more element of our report is an update from the vendor that was selected for the,
Mr. Chair, sorry, before we move forward
Sorry.
from that, sorry, as well, just question on the calendar, one of the calendars.
Yes.
Items. Just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I know and we've spoken a little bit here and there. Todd brought it up. Lucia commented about, MBEs and DBEs. And I see on the executive committee agenda on June 4th, EEO DBE policy approval. But I guess I'm trying to figure out, where did that originate from? I see it also on our Finance and Audit Committee agenda for June 3rd, also for approval. So I'm assuming that gets approved and then moving to the executive committee. But I guess I just feel like we missed something on the policy, or is that just something different from what we were talking about earlier?
Part and parcel of the same conversation. That one is part of the requirements of the PAVE Act, that we have a policy about it because it's federal requirements. What he's talking about, small business, will be in addition to that in the future. I mean, that could be a separate policy of its own outside of that. The MB, where is it? DBE, EB, whatever that is a requirement that, because we take federal money, we have to have a policy by July 1.
Sure. I mean, that's why we're approving procurement policies and other things. So I guess,
yeah,
I have not seen that policy. I don't think any committee has seen that policy.
Go ahead, Karen.
But I only see it for approval on 2 different calendars and no information from it at all.
Where is it?
EY, can you help us out on
Was
that
this
one?
the EEO policy that was discussed, was Title VI today in the Planning Committee?
Okay, so
And that's a
today
federal-
in the planning committee, okay.
Yeah, it was a federal requirement, Title
That's not
VI.
it. That's
but-
not it. Hold on.
Okay, it's not it?
Come on, everybody. Yeah, it's just at a
Something
different time. Thank you.
Can I add something? Sorry. So this is
Give your name.
Vishal Joshipura, EY. This is to help us get to the June 30 deadline, our own self-imposed deadline, to submit all documents to FTA for the grantee designation, or to help us register as a grantee. So as we've talked about briefly, we are working through a work plan for submitting all the documents, not only for the FDA, but all agencies, to get to wherever we need to be by the end of the year. As part of that, when we talked with FDA earlier this week, we said that we will try as much as possible to get them a comprehensive set of documents that they need for their evaluation by the end of June. A couple of those documents are these EEO and DBE policies. So as the chairman said, this is to help just get to that hurdle. This is not to kind of have a long-term implication on what the policy should be for MPTA.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that from a clarity standpoint, we understand we're still going to have our own policy separate. from
Yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah.
Absolutely.
This is a federal requirement.
Got it.
Okay.
Now, can we transition? Okay. All right.
Named it different. Right, yeah.
We asked him to join the meeting because majority of you guys did not actually get to interact with him. And I wanted you to meet him. He's going to work through a couple of slides about expectations. And we pull him up so everybody can meet him. Where are you at, Greg?
I'm here.
Are you still there?
He's coming.
After all of this?
You just can't
There
see
he
me.
is.
There we go.
Just so, guys, this is Greg Moser. He is actually going to help lead this process. He's going to talk through just a few comments. What I'd like to do tonight is not turn this into questioning of him, because everybody, as he's going to point out, is going to get a chance to talk to him individually. So tonight is really just to meet him and to hear his process. You get to talk to him one-on-one about anything that you want to share individually. So Greg, can we go back to this presentation now? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can hear me okay?
We can.
All right, great. Well, I want to start off by just thanking everyone for the opportunity to partner with you, because I recognize this is probably, I've been sitting and listening to your meeting, and you have a lot of significant and very important decisions to make, but hiring of your CEO for the authority as the first CEO is perhaps the most important thing you do. So it's not lost on me how significant this process is. And I'm excited to partner with you on it. So I wanted to take the moment and just start off by thanking you, introducing myself. I'm Greg Moser. I'm one of the partners at the firm. I'll be the one leading this recruitment effort on your behalf. And I wanted to mention that I recognize it's really important to hear from you as we get this process started. So as the chair pointed out, I'm not as fast as your counsel in terms of sending out a meeting while I'm talking, but I will send out an invite to you all via email tomorrow. So please keep your eye out for an email to sign up to have one-on-one meetings with me to discuss what you're looking for in the next CEO, what you want out of the authority, process, stakeholder engagement, and otherwise. But I wanted to take the moment tonight to mention that I'm excited to talk to each one of you individually, spend the time to hear from you, answer any questions you have, and also talk briefly about the process and what I see the process going forward to in terms of going out to recruit, identify, and select your next CEO. I met with the executive committee last week, and we talked about this. I look at the process in three parts. The first part of the process is prior to the job description being finalized and going out to the market. So during that part, we'll have our one-on-one meetings and discussions, and we'll have ongoing discussions. I also see us doing some heavy lifting and some broad stakeholder engagement, and I'm going to work with your executive committee. I want to hear from you during our meetings, but I also want to work with the executive committee on identifying who those stakeholders are and the means by which we're going to engage them. And there's a variety of ways we can go about engaging those stakeholders through meetings and surveys. So we're going to make sure we do that to get their input and get their feedback for this process to make sure that their voices are heard and that their opinions are taken into account as you go forward and select your CEO. I'm going to work with the executive committee on working on a timeline. We're going to make sure that we get this done in the time that you expect and that it works with also standing up the authority. I heard earlier about transitioning staff, working through some benefits and things like that. So I want to make sure that timeline adheres to that and you're well aware of what we're going to do, what those goals are, when there's going to be meetings so that we have those planned well in advance. We're going to work on writing the job description for the position, and that's going to be taken largely with your input and also with the stakeholders' input as to what's being sought in this position. I'm going to work with the executive committee on making sure that we advertise the job, and I'll talk about that a little bit later and how we go about advertising and then also how that impacts the identification of candidates. And then obviously as part of this, candidates are going to want to know what the salary of the job is and what benefits are. So I'll work with the executive committee with your input in terms of making sure that we have a compensation package that is competitive and also make sure that it's copacetic to all of you. So I will be committed and be available and working with you in this process to make sure you're constantly involved and engaged and aware of what's going on through the executive committee, through the chair, and through future meetings like this. So that's the first start as I see the first phase of this process. Once that job description's finalized, that's when I would say that we're going to go out and advertise the job. And I see that in multiple fashions. One is we're going to make sure it's on your website, at the MPTA website. There are a number, based on what you're looking for and the criteria you're looking for, I will make a recommendation to you as to where I think this job should be posted. So that, and I think that's critically important. This is a public agency. It is anybody who feels that they're qualified and meets the qualifications should have the opportunity to apply, and I should take the time to review all of those applications. So I will do that. And then that's coupled with the fact that I'm going to literally go out and proactively recruit and look for those passive candidates who may not be looking for a job right now, but may fit the profile of what you're looking for in that CEO. So I'm going to be picking up the phone and going out and proactively recruiting candidates to make sure we've got a well-rounded, diverse, and robust slate of candidates for you to consider. I think there's an opportunity to continue stakeholder engagement during that part of the process, and I'd recommend we continue to do that to make sure that we engage stakeholders and keep them engaged and informed of what's going on. So I'll work with the executive committee on recommendations and approaches to make sure we don't miss those stakeholders that need to be reached out to. And then it's my job to go out and identify, recruit, vet, and then ultimately come to you with a recommendation of candidates for the position. And so I see a process, and having done this a lot, I think that with a board of your size, I would recommend that the executive committee do the heavy lifting in this process and do a lot of the work behind the scenes to get you to a place of having finalist candidates. And I'd recommend that they go through the round of reviewing those resumes, doing first round interviews of those candidates, and ultimately bringing to you as a full board a finalist group of candidates. I think there'll come a point in time where we're going to have to negotiate a contract with someone. And so I typically find that it works really well to have either the chair or a small committee work with me hand in hand in terms of being given parameters and authority to go and negotiate that compensation package so that we can make sure that we can do that in a timely manner and ultimately come to a successful conclusion. And then my recommendation, and again, my goal is to bring you the most diverse, the strongest group of candidates. And I will point out that your competition is not just locally, but it's nationally as well. And at the moment, and probably going forward for the foreseeable future, there's probably about a half a dozen CEO searches in the transit industry right now that are all going on at the exact same time. So there's going to be a lot of interest in this position. This is incredibly exciting. I think there's already a great deal of excitement around this position, excitement about the authority being stood up. You live in a wonderful part of the country. You've got robust culture. You've got great school systems. You've got great college universities. You've got great employers and businesses. You've got great communities, and you offer a lot of different things in terms of recreational activities as well. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of desire, but I think we have to be mindful of the fact that there is competition out there. And so to go out and get the strongest group of candidates, my recommendation would be that when you select this person, we work very carefully to lead up to an announcement, and then we roll that person out to the public, to the board, and make sure that we've got a good, robust, and sound process for them to engage with the public, engage with your stakeholder community, and start on the right foot and hit the ground running. So at a high level, that's what I see the process going. That would be my recommendation, and continue to work with the executive committee, continue to work with you, and I'm excited to sit down and talk to each one of you individually, hear from you, and listen to you as to what you're looking for and your thoughts regarding the process.
And with that, again, if somebody can put them back on the screen so we're just not looking at this. Wanted you guys to meet Greg. I wanted you to hear what the executive committee wanted you to hear what he's thinking. And again, this transition group team is going to work with you to schedule times. I'm looking over there because I'm trying to get a head nod. Transition team is going to help with that. So with that, I'd like to keep this moving. And I also just publicly, and I asked him if I could do this. I wanted to thank Brent for his professionalism through this whole process. We actually have, he confirmed we have our first candidate. So we'll be getting to know more about even some people around us. So looking forward to the process, and thank you, Brent. All right, so with that, I'm going to move us on. Greg, thank you for joining us. And again, you guys will hear from him. So we're at the last item on the agenda, which is topics from trustees, something we added last time. So why don't I start with you, Cameron, and work my way around the table. If there's something anybody wants to bring up tonight for the order of everybody. You don't have to say anything now. I'm just being clear. I am not telling you have to talk. I'm just going to look around the table for a hand. So do you have something to say? Yeah.
I just wanted to, again, I know we talked a lot about trust and iteration of process tonight. I did want to thank the executive committee and all our committees for adding in that section for public comment. You know, we're an appointed body, and so I think it's important for us to keep that engagement going with the public wherever we can. And I want to thank Deborah Campbell for having my back and agreeing with me back there too. So thank you all.
Yeah, Deborah's going to have you back on public input. That I knew already. Okay, I'm just looking around the table. Hands. Okay, Katrina. You put that microphone.
I wasn't quite clear. I know there was a request, I think it was for 3 signatures instead of 2. The motion carried, but I never understood, were we including that as a requirement, or is it 1 signature on that policy?
It was 2.
It's 2
It was
required.
2. And that's part of the policy. So we approved the policy.
Thank you. So it's just 2. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, it's not 2 people that are approved to sign. Not 2 on everything. There are 2 of us. 1 of us would sign.
Okay. And I guess moving forward, when someone makes a recommendation, how do we address it? It just kind of bypassed it. And, it went so quick, I wasn't sure if it was just going to be an agreement or if it was just going to remain as it was. So just feedback for future meetings.
No, I mean, I tried to test it tonight with Anthony's thing, which is not just talk about it, actually entertain a motion. So, I mean, that's probably where I'll try to do it going forward. Let's just do it quick, have a quick discussion and move on, and we can vote that way is the way I'd like to handle that moving forward.
Thank you.
All right, moving around the table, Lucia. Oh, I didn't see your hand.
Over me.
I didn't see your hand, sir.
So two things. One, I would request that all of the committee members receive the link to each of the committee's meetings. So if you want to join that committee so you could observe, you have access to the link. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I've found out the hard way that the actual committee meetings are not broadcast live on the YouTube channel. They're recorded, so you can see it after the fact, but they're not live. So the only way to do that is you have to actually join. So I'm requesting that, that the links to each of the committee meetings be distributed to all trustees, and it's up to them whether or not they use it.
Or master calendar, maybe.
Either way, you still need a link to get into the meeting. You need a link to the meeting.
Well, I want to just real quick talk that out. What we don't want to do is add a bunch of meetings to everybody's calendar for every committee.
It's up to them whether or not they come. I said, share the link.
I think if you get the calendar invite and accept it, you'll have the link.
Well,
I just don't want you guys to get confused with the number of meetings.
I haven't been getting the calendar invite for anybody's meeting except for this meeting and my committee meeting.
Really? I get them through my email.
I haven't.
Well, what I'm saying to everybody is that if you want all committee meetings and you want to be optional on all of them, your calendar's going to look interesting. So
Put it on your calendar.
You don't have to accept it. People don't have to accept it if you don't want to.
So how about this? He requested it, so we do it by trustee.
Maybe I'm
All right, so Anthony wants it. Anybody else want it, you let staff know, because I'm getting head nods from people that don't want it, Anthony, so.
That's why I say you don't have to accept it. You're going to make your job a lot harder, but anyway, I'm happy.
Anthony wants them all.
I want it.
Corinne wants them all.
Good.
Going once, going twice. All right, anything else?
Yes, so the other one is, I'd like to request a report on our funds expended from our $4.3 million that we have.
Absolutely.
We
No.
need and if we can, not just like 2 line items, but
No, I got it.
some detailed on what we've spent so far out of our 4.3 and what we have left to spend.
All of it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Who else?
I guess I don't get all.
Lucia?
All I want to say is today, we're 7 weeks from our deadline, from that July 1st. So 7 weeks for all that we have on our list. So as efficiently as we can move, I'll encourage us to remember that number.
All right.
I have something.
Okay. Well, Wyatt was next. Can I come back to you? Wyatt?
Thank you. Congratulations on us walking something. Anthony, I think you had some great ideas, and I thought we did a great job of talking through that. As we're getting more and more documents, and this may already be on the MPTA website, but another board I serve on, we have a platform called Board Effects, which allows us to have all the documents organized in a little bit better way, and that may be just a question and clarification, but.
Wyatt is saying exactly what I was getting ready to ask Emily to talk about.
So
I think Elizabeth wants to talk about it. Elizabeth?
yeah, we are in the process of implementing Granicus, which is another board software. It's the one that the city uses. We should be looking to go live here with, we're going to try and roll it out to each one of the committees first, and then to the board, full board, either in, is it Emily, June or July? So it will be, it's imminent.
Going around the table. Emily?
I would
Yes.
just add to that, if you go to our website, all the meeting archives are there, all agenda packets, video summaries, and then there's a section for governing documents, so all your policies are there, all your resolutions are there, and I will post all the committee charters once those are passed, any ordinances we pass. So they are at your fingertips right now, if necessary.
Going around the tape.
I was just going to say,
Kristen.
part of what trustee T. Anthony Lindsay is asking for, along with trustee Mack, once we get the tool, granted, because we could have a master calendar that's posted there. It seems to me like we can use technology, so you could click a link, and then you'll get the information to join the meeting, rather than having to send the invite to a select few people. So as we progress, we certainly will become more efficient and effective at having ways to ensure people are engaged.
Until then, they'll send them emails, invite them. Who else is going around? All right. Thank you guys for your time tonight. Thank you, the staff. A few people had guessed that we were going to get out by 8 o'clock, so we missed that one. I don't know who won the bet tonight, because I said it would be less than 2 hours. A motion to adjourn.
Cameron Pruitt, move to adjourn.
A motion. Give it to Christy, give it to Lucia. All in favor, let me know by saying good night.